So we've got the G430 here, a driver 2 years in the making, and the one thing that has always been a standout for Ping is stability. They've got really great segmentation in their line. They've got SFT, they've got LS, they've got the standard model, and I think golfers find it very easy to identify with the drivers that are in the Ping lineup. And we've seen a pretty big advancement in one of the drivers that we see the most on tour, and that Ping has really kind of put a lot of tech into, which is the one I've got in my hand to start with, is the LS tech. So we've got continued movable weight on the back, you've got a forged face, and for the first time since the Rapture, we've got carbon composite in the crown of this thing to drop the center of gravity even further, but still maintain Ping is always known for stability.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes to Ping, they tend to be one of the last to embrace a lot of the technologies that we see from other OEMs. So you see it, as you mentioned, it's just the carbon composite in the crown that wraps down into the sections on the sole. But it's not that Ping's slow. You know, RB, you and I talk to Ping, they won't bring out a new technology until they see real measurable improvements. And that's why you're only gonna see this material in that LS product, is because they haven't quite found the same improved recipe in the SFT and the standard head.
Yeah, and we talked to Paul Wood about that from Ping when they were talking about the drivers. Is they have to, the engineering team, when they go to the leadership, they have to show justifiable results before they put something into a golf club, have it be movable weight. And that's why you see with the Ping drivers, they have some of the most amount of movable weight in a driver in the market. In one place, far at the back of the head, you get the adjustability, you get that great response from centers of gravity location, but you also get something that you don't lose, which is, you know, stability. I keep going back to that word, but with this new driver, we're also seeing speed because of a little bit lower spin and just being able to save that weight from the LST, but also in the Max and in the SFT, because there's a lot of draw bias built into that driver.
From my perspective, Ping is very methodical as to their approach to research and development. They don't chase things that are shiny. They don't chase things that are trendy. They look at technology, they analyze technology, and they quantify technology. And they do not adapt technology until they feel it is right for their family of drivers. And once again, kind of the theme with these manufacturers, and RB was talking about it, so they have a nice family of drivers that suits, back to my bell curve again, a large segment of the bell curve, and they do a good job with that.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the Ping drivers, and you're looking at the G430, it's easy to identify where you fit in, but you still get all of that adjustability. You get it in the hosel. You have the ability to fine tune. And the one thing that Ping offers a huge amount of, which not all OEMs offer in the same amount, is you get lie angle adjustability as well. And with lie angle, what that really works for is adjusting start line. So if you're looking for a driver that you want to see it, if you say you're a little bit more of a fader that starts out to the right, you crank, just like with your irons, you get that line angle a little bit more upright, you're going to see that start line start a little bit more center and go left. Or if you're someone who's into the LS and you want to play it a little bit flatter and you want to see it start maybe a little bit more left of your target and then come back, you have that opportunity to do that with this golf club. And I think, you know, Dragonfly technology in the titanium drivers, then you've got the carbon in the top. And the thing that stands out too, and you know, people always talk about them and it doesn't even bother me, I think you hit a couple shots with it, is turbulators. There is aerodynamics play a huge part in this, and I think, you know, when you're at home and you're trying to think like, oh, what does aerodynamics actually mean when I'm swinging at 90 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour? Well, try driving that with your car and then sticking your hand out the window and feeling that resistance while you're driving. Like, okay, yeah, your hand is getting pushed back. You are resisting that force. Well, you've got this entire face of this driver moving 90, 100 miles an hour. In the case of tour players, 125, 100. Tony Finau can crank one of these things up to 100, almost 130 miles an hour. You are getting a lot of resistance. So every little benefit that they can put into this driver and throughout the entire line, they are looking at those advantages, and you get that with the Ping. You get extra forgiveness, you get extra ball speed on those missed hits because of the stability, and you get a driver that, you know, is going to go in your bag and offer all of those things together to hopefully hit more fairways and shoot some lower scores.
Yeah, so the LST, I mean, right out of the gate, most played model on the PGA Tour. It's been a big improvement for a lot of the tour pros, seeing increases in ball speed, more distance. makes me wonder, Gene, you hit them on the robot. Are we seeing the same thing? Is the robot telling us that we're getting more speed? Where are the improvements?
Absolutely. So first off, we did a comparison against the G430 against the G425, and we saw that overall we had a faster ball speed over all the models. So there definitely was an improvement on ball speed in relation to the G425. The G430 LST improved on overall distance versus the G425 LST. So a little bit lower spin rate and a little bit faster equals a little bit more boring distance.
There's that trend again. Drivers with lower spin
That's, as we said, I'm seeing it over and over and over from the manufacturers. So I think the consumer has spoken. They want to knock the ball a long way, and the manufacturers are obliging. The G430 Max had a 1 mile per hour faster ball speed than the G425 Max, and the G430 SFT had the tightest dispersion pattern of the three clubs, followed by the Max. So they were pretty close. So the SFT to design to help minimize that slice, and the Max to give you forgiveness, both had very tight dispersion patterns, and both were very forgiving on mishits.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that when golfers are looking out there and you're looking at what do I really gain, what am I really looking for, the idea of shrinking your dispersion when you're hitting shots, all over the golf course, right and left, or mostly to the right if you're someone who's looking at the SFT, being able to dial that in and just say, I'm gonna hit a couple more fairways around. That adds up as you're playing to hit more greens. And all of those things build up into being able to shoot lower scores. But it's always nicer to be further down the fairway, which is really important. And we're seeing that from the previous model, getting that extra ball speed and not only that, but lower spin.
Absolutely.